My son-in-law called my daughter a fat pig on her wedding day. I heard everything. My name is Arlene Williams, and at 62 years old, I thought I'd seen it all. When my daughter Samantha announced her engagement, I was overjoyed. Then on her wedding day, I overheard something that shattered my heart. Words so cruel from the man she was about to marry. I had to make a choice between staying silent or saving my daughter. I chose the latter, and it changed everything. Let me know where you're watching from, and hit that like and subscribe button as I share how I exposed the truth and saved my daughter from a lifetime of pain. I've lived in the same cozy house in the suburbs of Boston for over 30 years. After losing my husband Tom to cancer 15 years ago, it's been just me in this 4-bedroom colonial that once echoed with laughter and arguments and all the beautiful chaos of family life. I retired from teaching 3rd grade 5 years ago, though I still substitute occasionally when I miss the classroom too much. My daughter Samantha is my only child, my pride and joy. At 32, she's accomplished so much already, graduating with honors from Northeastern, working her way up to senior marketing director at her company, buying her own condo downtown. She's always been brilliant, determined, and kind-hearted. But there's one thing that's shadowed her since childhood, her weight. Samantha was always what doctors called a sturdy child. Not unhealthy by any means, just naturally bigger than the rail-thin girls in her class. By middle school, the comments started. Kids can be so cruel. I still remember picking her up one day in 7th grade, finding her crying in the bathroom because someone had taped a picture of a whale to her locker. My heart broke, but Sam's spirit did too, just a little. Throughout high school and college, Samantha Yo-Yo dieted constantly. Up 20 pounds down, 15, up 30, down 10. Each new attempt brought initial excitement, followed by inevitable disappointment. I tried everything to help her see her beauty. Therapy, positive reinforcement, even a nutritionist who specialized in intuitive eating. But society's messages were louder than mine. Our relationship has always been close but complicated. When she was a teenager, we fought constantly about her weight. Not because I thought she needed to change, but because I couldn't bear to see her hate herself so much. She would accuse me of not understanding because I've always been average-sized. "You don't know what it's like, Mum," she'd scream through tears. And she was right. I didn't. When Samantha told me she'd met someone, I was cautiously optimistic. She'd dated before, of course, but most relationships fizzled out after a few months. This one seemed different from the start. His name was Justin Blackwell, a 38-year-old investment banker she'd met at a charity gala. The way her eyes lit up when she talked about him told me everything I needed to know. "He's different, Mom," she said over brunch one Sunday. "He makes me feel beautiful." Justin had all the outward markers of success: the Rolex watch, the tailored suits, the downtown penthouse apartment. When I finally met him at a dinner Samantha arranged, he was charming and polite, bringing an expensive bottle of wine and complimenting my home. But something about him set off faint alarm bells in my mind. Maybe it was how his eyes occasionally flicked over Samantha's body when she wasn't looking, not with appreciation, but with something like calculation. Or how he subtly corrected her table manners, disguising criticism as playful teasing. Perhaps it was the way he dominated conversations, speaking over Samantha when she tried to share her opinions. Still, Samantha seemed happy, happier than I'd seen her in years. And who was I to question her judgment? She was a grown woman, successful in her own right. If she loved this man, surely she saw something in him that I was missing. 6 months into their relationship, Samantha called me on a Tuesday evening, her voice bubbling with excitement. "Mom, we're engaged. Justin proposed last night at Chez Michel." I pushed aside my lingering doubts and allowed myself to feel the joy of the moment. My beautiful daughter was getting married. I would finally see her walk down the aisle, something I'd dreamed of since she was a little girl, twirling around the living room in my old wedding veil. "I'm so happy for you, sweetheart," I said, tears in my eyes. "When can I see the ring?" As I listened to her describe the princess-cut diamond and the romantic proposal, I made a decision. For Samantha's sake, I would embrace Justin as my future son-in-law. I would silence the nagging voice in my head, telling me something wasn't right. What mattered was my daughter's happiness. And if Justin made her happy, then he was welcome in our family. Little did I know how wrong I was, and how much I would come to regret ignoring those early warning signs. The next 8 months were a whirlwind of wedding preparations. Samantha had always dreamed of a June wedding, and Justin was eager to make it happen quickly. I offered to help financially. Tom had left us well provided for, and I'd been saving for Samantha's wedding since she was born. But Justin insisted they could handle it. "We've got this covered, Arlene," he said smoothly. "I want to give Samantha the wedding she deserves." It sounded generous, but I soon realized there was a catch. Since Justin was paying, he and his family had opinions about everything. And by opinions, I mean demands. The first real clash came over the venue. Samantha had her heart set on the botanical gardens, where she'd spent countless weekends with her father as a child. Justin's mother, Margaret, a razor-thin woman with permanent frown lines, had other ideas. "The Grand Plaza Hotel is where we host all our family weddings," she announced during our first planning meeting. "Justin's sister had her reception there, and so will Samantha." The way she said my daughter's name made it sound like an afterthought. I watched Samantha's face fall, then rearrange itself into a smile. "Of course, if that's what you prefer," she said quietly. When I tried to bring up the botanical gardens later, she shushed me. "It's not worth fighting over, Mum. I want everyone to be happy." But it wasn't just the venue, it was everything. The guest list expanded to include dozens of Justin's business associates Samantha had never met. The elegant, understated color scheme she wanted was dismissed in favor of Margaret's preference for ostentatious gold and white. The band she loved was rejected because Margaret found them too ethnic. Most concerning was how Samantha began to shrink, not just emotionally, but physically. She embarked on what she called her wedding-ready diet, which seemed to consist mostly of green juice and air. When I expressed concern, she brushed it off. "Justin's family is very fitness-oriented," she explained. "I just want to look my best." By 4 months before the wedding, Samantha had lost 25 pounds. She looked exhausted with dark circles under her eyes. But Justin and his mother heaped praise on her. "You're finally getting that waistline back," Margaret commented during a dress-fitting pinching Samantha's side. "Just a bit more to go." I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. Things came to a head during the menu tasting at the Grand Plaza. Samantha, who'd barely eaten all day, took a second piece of cake to sample. Justin's hand shot out, covering hers. "Careful there, babe," he said with a tight smile. "You're making such good progress. We don't want to undo all that hard work, do we?" I couldn't stay silent. "For heaven's sake, Justin, she's allowed to taste the cake at her own wedding." The flash of anger in his eyes was quickly masked. "Of course she is. I'm just being supportive of her goals. Isn't that right, Sam?" Samantha nodded, putting down the fork. "Justin's right, Mum. I want to look perfect in my dress." That night, I tried to have a heart-to-heart with my daughter. We sat on my porch swing, something we'd done since she was little when we needed to talk about important things. "Honey, are you happy?" I asked directly. She looked surprised. "Of course I am. Why wouldn't I be? It just seems like you're changing a lot to please Justin and his family." Her face hardened. "Not this again, Mom. You've never liked Justin." "That's not true. I just want to make sure he appreciates you for who you are, not who he wants you to be." Samantha stood up abruptly. "You're just being overprotective. Justin loves me. He wants what's best for me. Even if that means starving yourself and giving up everything you want. You don't understand. This is what adults in relationships do. They compromise. I took her hand. Compromise goes both ways, Sam. What is Justin giving up for you? She pulled away. I'm not having this conversation. You're trying to ruin the happiest time of my life because you can't stand to see me with someone who isn't Dad. That hurt. Tom had been gone for 15 years, and I'd never once compared any of Samantha's boyfriends to him, but I knew better than to say that now. Samantha was in too deep, and pushing would only drive her further away. I just want you to be happy, I said softly. I am happy. Please try to be happy for me too. I hugged her and promised I would try. But as I watched her drive away, the knot of worry in my stomach grew tighter. Something was very wrong in this relationship. I just didn't know how wrong it actually was. The week before the wedding arrived with a flurry of last-minute preparations. Samantha's bachelorette party, organized by her maid of honor Katie, was a subdued affair at a spa followed by dinner. I wasn't invited. No moms allowed, Samantha had teased, but Katie called me afterward. Is Sam okay? She asked, concern evident in her voice. She hardly touched her food and was checking her phone every 5 minutes. When I asked if Justin was texting her, she got defensive. Pre-wedding nerves, I said, trying to convince myself as much as Katie. But I made a mental note to pay closer attention. The night before the wedding, there was a rehearsal dinner at the Grand Plaza Hotel where the ceremony and reception would be held the next day. Everyone would be staying overnight. The bridal party in a suite on the 18th floor, Justin and his groomsmen on the 20th. I arrived at the hotel early, around 2 in the afternoon. Samantha had asked me to check that the welcome bags for out-of-town guests had been delivered to the front desk, and to make sure her veil, which had been separately steamed, was in the bridal suite. The Grand Plaza was opulent all-marble floors and crystal chandeliers. As I crossed the lobby toward the elevators, I felt underdressed in my simple slacks and blouse among the designer-clothed guests arriving for various functions. After confirming the welcome bags were ready, I took the elevator to the 18th floor to check on the bridal suite. The veil was there beautifully arranged on a mannequin head, along with Samantha's dress in its garment bag. On my way back down, I remembered Samantha had also asked me to make sure the wedding coordinator had the correct sheet music for the string quartet. That meant finding the hotel's event spaces, which I was told were on the mezzanine level. I followed the signs through a maze of corridors. The mezzanine was quiet in the mid-afternoon. Most of the meeting rooms empty until evening events. As I turned a corner, I heard male laughter coming from what looked like a small fitness center. The door was slightly ajar. I recognized Justin's voice immediately. He was with several men, his groomsmen, I assumed. They must have arrived early too. I was about to call out a greeting when I heard my daughter's name. "So you're really going through with marrying Samantha tomorrow, huh?" one voice said. Justin's laugh had a cruel edge I'd never heard before. "What choice do I have? Her family's money is locked up tighter than Fort Knox. The only way to access it is through marriage." My blood ran cold. I froze mid-step. "But dude," another voice chimed in, "is it worth it? I mean, she's not exactly—" "A supermodel," Justin finished. "Tell me about it. The thought of sleeping with that fat pig makes me sick." Laughter erupted from the room. My hand flew to my mouth to stifle a gasp. "She's lost weight though, right?" the first voice asked. "Not enough," Justin scoffed. 25 pounds down, another 50 to go. Her mother keeps feeding her like she's trying to fatten her up for slaughter. More laughter. I leaned against the wall, my legs suddenly too weak to support me. "Speaking of her mother," another voice said, "she's got some cash too, right? Old teacher's pension. And the dad's life insurance plus the house. It's all going to Samantha eventually. Arlene's 60? She won't be around forever." They were discussing my death as a financial strategy. I felt physically ill. "So what's the plan?" someone asked. "Marry her, get the money, then what? 2 years tops," Justin said confidently. Long enough to not raise suspicions with the prenup expiration. We take a few nice vacations. I keep a separate apartment for entertaining more appealing company, then an amicable divorce, where I walk away with half. You're cold, man, one of the voices said, sounding impressed rather than appalled. It's just business, Justin replied. Besides, I'm doing her a favor. Who else is going to marry her? They all laughed again, and I heard the clink of glasses. They were toasting to this plan, this cruel deception of my daughter. I stood there frozen in shock and horror. My heart was pounding so hard I feared they might hear it. Tears burned my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Not now. I needed to think clearly. Through the crack in the door, I could see Justin, his back to me, surrounded by 4 other men in expensive casual wear. They were drinking whiskey, lounging on gym equipment they weren't using. In that moment, I knew I had to do something. I couldn't let Samantha marry this monster. But how could I tell her what I'd heard without breaking her heart? She was so excited for tomorrow, so convinced she'd found true love. I backed away quietly, my mind racing. By the time I reached the elevator, a plan was beginning to form. There had to be a way to expose Justin without humiliating Samantha in the process. And I was determined to find it. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I heard Justin's voice. That fat pig. My beautiful, kind, brilliant daughter, reduced to those 3 hateful words by the man she was about to pledge her life to. Around midnight, I called Nancy, my best friend of 30 years. She answered groggily. Arlene, is everything okay? No, I whispered, sitting in the hotel room's bathroom, so I wouldn't wake my sister, who was sharing the room with me. Everything is very much not okay. I told her what I'd overheard. Nancy gasped appropriately at all the right moments. That bastard, she said when I finished. You have to tell Samantha. I know, but how? If I just tell her what I heard, it's my word against his. He'll say I misunderstood or made it up because I never liked him. And you know how defensive she gets about him. There was a long pause. You need evidence, Nancy finally said. Something she can't ignore. That's when the idea crystallized. I need to get him to admit it again, on record. How are you going to do that? I thought about it. The wedding's not until 4 tomorrow. That gives me the morning. I just need to get him alone. Be careful, Arlene. Men like that can be dangerous when cornered. I'm more afraid of what will happen to Samantha if I do nothing. After hanging up, I called my nephew Brian, who works in IT. Despite the late hour, he answered and listened to my abbreviated explanation. I need to record a conversation discreetly. What's the best way? Brian didn't ask questions, bless him. Do you have your smartphone with you? I did. He talked me through downloading a specific app that would record audio even with the screen off. He also suggested I back up the recording to my cloud storage instantly in case something happened to my phone. The quality won't be studio grade, he warned, but it should be clear enough if you're in a quiet room and keep the phone within a few feet of the conversation. I spent the rest of the night rehearsing what I would say, how I would get Justin to incriminate himself. By dawn, I had a plan. Not a perfect one, but the best I could manage under the circumstances. Morning came too quickly. At 9, I went to Samantha's suite to help her get ready. Her bridesmaids were already there, champagne-flowing music playing. My daughter looked happier than I'd seen her in months, her face glowing with excitement. Mom, she cried when I entered, rushing to hug me. Can you believe it's finally happening? I hugged her back tightly, fighting tears. My baby girl getting married. I managed. For the next few hours I went through the motions. I helped arrange Samantha's hair for the stylist. I kept track of the timing for makeup appointments. I made sure everyone had enough to eat, though Samantha refused anything but black coffee. I want to fit perfectly into my dress, she explained. Around noon, when Samantha was getting her makeup done, I took a moment to send a text message from my phone to Justin. Need to speak with you privately before the ceremony. Important matter regarding Samantha's inheritance. Meet me in conference room 3B on the mezzanine at 3:30. Don't tell Samantha. Want it to be a surprise for after the wedding. Arlene. The response came quickly. I'll be there. Phase 1 complete. Now for the hard part. By 3 o'clock, Samantha was dressed and ready, looking absolutely stunning in her gown. The weight loss had made her face more angular, highlighting her cheekbones and her father's blue eyes. But I could see the collarbones protruding too sharply, the way the seamstress had needed to take in the dress repeatedly. You look beautiful, I told her, and meant it. Do you think Justin will think so? She asked anxiously. It took everything in me not to tell her the truth right then. Instead, I squeezed her hand. Any man would be lucky to have you exactly as you are. She hugged me. I know you had your doubts about Justin, but he really does love me, Mom. I've never been so sure of anything. I blinked back tears. I want you to be happy, Samantha. That's all I've ever wanted. I am happy, finally. I excused myself, claiming I needed to check on the flowers. I'll be back before the ceremony starts, I promised. It was 3:20, time to confront Justin. I made my way to conference room 3B, which I'd scouted earlier. It was small with a round table and 6 chairs currently unused. I set my phone on the table, the recording app running, and waited. At precisely 3:30, the door opened and Justin walked in. He was already dressed in his tuxedo, looking every bit the handsome groom. If you didn't know what kind of person lurked beneath that polished exterior, you'd think Samantha was the luckiest woman alive. Arlene. He greeted me with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. This is unusual timing, but you mentioned Samantha's inheritance. I gestured for him to sit. Yes, thank you for coming. I know you're busy today. He sat across from me, checking his watch. We have about 20 minutes before I need to be back upstairs. What's this about? I took a deep breath. As you know, Tom left Samantha well provided for. There's the trust fund, of course, which she'll have full access to when she turns 35. Justin's eyes sharpened with interest. Yes, she mentioned that. About 3 years from now. Exactly, but there's also the matter of the family home and my own assets. Justin leaned forward slightly. I wasn't aware there was anything beyond the trust. Oh yes, Tom was very careful with our investments, and my teacher's pension, while not glamorous, is substantial after 30 years of service. I was making most of this up, embellishing the actual value of my estate considerably. That's good to hear, Justin said carefully. The thing is, I continued, I've been worried about Samantha's happiness in this marriage. His face immediately composed itself into concerned lines. What do you mean Samantha is thrilled about the wedding? Yes, she seems to be. But I've noticed changes in her, the extreme dieting, the way she defers to you on everything. It's not like the independent daughter I raised. Justin's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Samantha understands the importance of making an effort in a relationship. She wants to look her best for me, just as I try to look my best for her. That's normal in a marriage. Is it? I've been married, Justin. It wasn't about changing who I was fundamentally. He shifted in his seat, a flash of annoyance crossing his face. Times have changed, Arlene. Modern relationships have different expectations. I nodded as if considering his words. Perhaps. I just want to make sure you love my daughter for who she truly is. Of course I do, he said automatically. Even with her weight issues, I pressed. There it was, a flicker of distaste in his expression before he masked it. Samantha is beautiful, and she's working hard to be healthier. She's always been at a healthy weight, I countered. Her doctors have confirmed it. This diet she's on is extreme. With all due respect, Justin said, his tone cooling. Samantha's appearance is between her and me. I'm not sure why we're discussing this right before our wedding. Because I'm considering changing my will. That got his full attention. Changing your will. I nodded. Currently, everything goes to Samantha upon my death, but I'm thinking of setting up a trust instead, with conditions. What kind of conditions? His voice was carefully neutral, but I could see the calculation in his eyes. Conditions ensuring Samantha's well-being and happiness in her marriage, regular check-ins with a trustee, that sort of thing. Justin's demeanor changed completely. The polite mask slipped, revealing irritation. That seems unnecessarily controlling. Does it? I just want to protect my daughter. From what exactly? From me. Now he was getting angry. What are you implying, Arlene? I decided to be direct. I'm implying that I'm not convinced you're marrying my daughter for the right reasons. Justin laughed, a cold sound, nothing like his usual charming chuckle. And what would those wrong reasons be? Her money. Is that what you think? The thought had crossed my mind. He stared at me for a long moment, then seemed to come to a decision. Look, Arlene, let's be honest with each other. You've never liked me, and I've tolerated you because you're Samantha's mother. But if we're talking about money, let's really talk. By all means, I said, heart pounding. Yes. Samantha's financial situation made her more attractive as a potential wife. I'm a businessman. I look at the complete package. She brings assets to the table. I bring status and connections. It's a merger, not just a marriage. I kept my expression neutral, even as disgust filled me. And her weight is that part of the complete package. Justin's face hardened. If we're being brutally honest, no. It's a liability. I've had to work hard to get her to understand what's expected of a wife in my social circle. By making her hate herself, by calling her a fat pig. His eyes widened slightly. Then he composed himself. I've never called her that to her face. But you have called her that. He shrugged. Look, I'm doing Samantha a favor. She should be grateful someone like me is willing to overlook her physical shortcomings. You don't love her at all, do you? Justin sighed as if I was being particularly dense. Love is for fairy tales, Arlene. This is the real world. Samantha gets the husband she desperately wants, the social status her career can't provide. I get certain financial advantages. Everyone wins. And when you inevitably cheat on her, I kept my voice steady, even as rage built inside me. He actually had the audacity to smirk. What Samantha doesn't know won't hurt her, as long as I'm discreet. And if she found out, she won't. She's too desperate to keep me to look too closely at my business trips. I leaned forward. And eventually, what's the end game here? Justin? He hesitated only briefly. Marriage has a shelf life. When it's run its course, we'll part ways amicably. After the trust fund becomes accessible, I said. He didn't deny it. Timing is everything in business and in life. And you think this plan of yours will work? It already is working. Look at how she jumps to please me. Look at how she's lost weight, changed her appearance, cut off friends I don't approve of. Samantha will do anything to keep this relationship. I'd heard enough. I reached for my phone, stopping the recording. Thank you for your honesty, Justin. His eyes narrowed. Why are you reaching for your phone? I held it up. I've been recording our conversation. The blood drained from his face. You what? I overheard you yesterday in the gym with your groomsmen. About Samantha being a fat pig. About marrying her for money and planning to divorce her in 2 years. You're bluffing, he said, but uncertainty had crept into his voice. I pressed play on the recording, and his own voice filled the room. The thought of sleeping with that fat pig makes me sick. I stopped the playback. I have everything, Justin. Your plan to use Samantha for her money, your disgust for her body, your intention to cheat and eventually divorce her, all of it. He lunged for my phone, but I was already standing backing toward the door. Don't, I warned. The recording is already backed up to the cloud. If anything happens to my phone, or to me, dozens of people will receive copies. You bitch! He hissed, his handsome face contorted with rage. You set me up. No, Justin. You set yourself up the moment you decided to use my daughter. Samantha will never believe you, he said, desperation creeping into his voice. She'll think you doctored the recording. Perhaps that's a risk I'm willing to take. I reached for the door handle. The question is, what are you going to do now? He stood there frozen as I opened the door. The wedding starts in 20 minutes, I reminded him. I'm going to talk to my daughter. What you do is up to you. I left him there, my heart hammering, but my resolve firm. I had the evidence. Now came the hardest part, breaking my daughter's heart to save her future. I hurried back to Samantha's bridal suite, my hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped my phone twice. The bridesmaids were gone, sent to the ceremony site to await the bride. Samantha was alone, staring at her reflection in the full-length mirror. She turned when I entered, her face lighting up. There you are. I was starting to worry. I closed the door behind me and leaned against it. Samantha, we need to talk. Her smile faltered. Now, Mom, the ceremony starts in 15 minutes. I know, I'm sorry, but this can't wait. She must have seen something in my expression, because she sat down on the nearby chaise lounge, her enormous white dress billowing around her. What's wrong? You're scaring me. I sat beside her and took her hands in mine. Sweetheart, before you walk down that aisle, I need to ask you something. And I need you to answer honestly, not just say what you think I want to hear. She nodded, looking confused. Are you truly deeply happy with Justin? Samantha sighed. Mom, we've been over this. Yes, I love Justin. Yes, he makes me happy. Even when he criticizes your body, even when he controls what you eat, who you see, what you wear. Her eyes widened. He doesn't control me. He just cares about my health and appearance. That's normal. Is it because the Samantha I know never cared about designer labels or status, or being the thinnest woman in the room? The Samantha I raised was confident in herself. People change, Mom. I'm growing up, evolving. I squeezed her hands. There's a difference between growth and erasure. I'm afraid you're erasing yourself to become what Justin wants. Tears welled in Samantha's eyes. Why are you doing this today of all days? I took a deep breath. Because yesterday I overheard Justin talking with his groomsmen. What are you talking about? I was on the mezzanine level checking on things for the wedding. I walked past the gym. The door was open. I swallowed hard. Justin was inside with his friends. They were talking about you. Samantha's hands tensed in mine. What did they say? I couldn't repeat those cruel words directly. Justin told them he was only marrying you for your money, that he finds you physically repulsive, that he plans to cheat on you and divorce you in 2 years after your trust fund becomes accessible. Her face went pale, then flushed with anger. That's a lie. Justin would never say those things. I wish it was a lie, Samantha, but I heard it with my own ears. She pulled her hands away. So you say, but you've never liked Justin. You've been looking for reasons to break us up since day one. I had expected this reaction. That's why I got proof. Proof. She looked skeptical. I nodded. I met with Justin just now. I recorded our conversation. Before she could respond, I played the recording. Justin's voice filled the room, each horrible word landing like a slap. Yes. Samantha's financial situation made her more attractive as a potential wife. If we're being brutally honest, no. It's a liability. I'm doing Samantha a favor. She should be grateful someone like me is willing to overlook her physical shortcomings. And finally, The most damning segment. Marriage has a shelf life. When it's run its course, we'll part ways amicably. After the trust fund becomes accessible. Timing is everything in business and in life. I watched as shocked disbelief and then crushing pain washed over my daughter's face. She shook her head slowly, tears spilling down her cheeks, smearing her careful makeup. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." I moved to embrace her, but she stood abruptly pacing the room in her wedding gown. "He couldn't. He wouldn't." She stopped staring, unseeing at the wall. The diet, the constant comments about my appearance, the way he'd check my plate at restaurants. I gave her space, letting the reality sink in. The separate hotel rooms on our trips, she continued, revelation dawning. The mysterious weekend conferences, the calls he'd take in private. She turned to me, mascara streaking down her face. "I'm such a fool." "No, sweetheart," I said firmly, standing to take her hands again. "You're not a fool. You're a woman who wanted to believe in love. There's no shame in that." 200 people are waiting downstairs, she said numbly. "What do I do?" "Whatever you want," I told her. "If you want to go through with the wedding, I'll support you. If you want to call it off, I'll support that too. This is your decision." She was silent for a long moment, then a transformation came over her face. The shock and pain gave way to something else, determination. "I want to confront him," she said. "I want to see his face when I play this recording." "Are you sure?" I asked. "It won't be easy. Nothing worth doing ever is," she said, echoing a phrase her father used to say. Just then there was a knock at the door. "Samantha, it's Justin. We need to talk." Samantha looked at me, then squared her shoulders. "Come in." The door opened and Justin entered. He'd clearly been running his hands through his hair, which was now slightly disheveled. His eyes darted from Samantha to me and back again. "What's going on?" Samantha asked with remarkable composure. "Isn't it bad luck to see the bride before the wedding?" Justin ignored the question. "Your mother and I had a conversation." "Yes, she told me." Samantha's voice was steady. "She also played me the recording." His face contorted with anger. "That recording is out of context. She manipulated me, led me on." "Really? So you didn't call me a fat pig to your friends yesterday. You didn't say the thought of sleeping with me makes you sick." Justin blanched. "Samantha, listen." "No, you listen," she cut him off. "For once in this relationship, you're going to listen to me." She stepped closer to him, her full height apparent despite her shaking hands. "I have spent the last year shrinking myself. Physically, emotionally, in every way possible, trying to fit whatever mold you thought I should fill. I've been hungry and tired and anxious every single day, worried I wasn't good enough for you." Justin tried to interrupt, but Samantha continued. "I am not a fat pig. I'm a woman who deserves respect and genuine love, not whatever twisted arrangement you had planned." "You're overreacting," Justin said, attempting to regain control. "Your mother is turning you against me because she's jealous. She doesn't want you to be happy." "Don't you dare," I started, but Samantha held up her hand. "My mother has only ever wanted my happiness," she said. "Something I realize now you've never truly cared about." She took a deep breath. "The wedding is off, Justin." His face darkened. "You can't do that. Do you know how much money I've spent? The contacts I've invited, the business connections at stake?" "Send them my apologies," Samantha said. "I'm sure a shrewd businessman like yourself included a force majeure clause in all your contracts." For a moment, I glimpsed real danger in Justin's eyes. But we were in a hotel with security everywhere and hundreds of guests nearby. He mastered himself with visible effort. "You'll regret this," he said coldly. "No one else will want you." Samantha straightened to her full height, something shifting in her stance. "I'd rather be alone than with someone who sees me as nothing but a bank account with an expiration date." Justin looked from Samantha to me, realizing he'd lost. Without another word, he turned and left, slamming the door behind him. Samantha stood frozen for a moment, then collapsed onto the chaise lounge, her huge dress cascading around her. "What have I done?" she whispered. I sat beside her. "You stood up for yourself. I'm so proud of you." "There are 200 people out there waiting for a wedding. Then we'll give them an announcement instead," I said firmly. "You don't owe anyone an explanation, but they do deserve to know the ceremony is cancelled." Samantha nodded, then looked down at her dress. "I can't go out there like this. Not in this dress I starved myself to fit into." I went to the closet where I knew her going-away outfit was hanging, a simple but elegant blue dress she'd chosen for leaving the reception. "How about this?" She nodded. I helped her out of the wedding gown, noting with a pang how prominent her ribs had become. As she slipped into the blue dress, I saw a flash of my real daughter returning, the strong, confident woman who'd been hidden beneath layers of Justin's control. "What do I say to everyone?" she asked as I helped fix her makeup. "The truth, as much of it as you're comfortable sharing." She nodded, took a deep breath, and squared her shoulders. "Let's go." We walked together to the ceremony space where guests were already seated, the string quartet playing softly. Justin was nowhere to be seen, but his parents were in the front row, looking confused and irritated at the delay. Samantha walked to the front of the aisle. The music stopped. 200 faces turned toward her. "I want to thank you all for coming today," she began, her voice clear and steady. "I'm sorry to tell you that there won't be a wedding." Murmurs spread through the crowd. "I've recently learned that my relationship with Justin was built on deception. He was marrying me for financial reasons, not love." Gasps rippled through the guests. Margaret Blackwell's face turned a mottled red. "I won't be shamed into silence," Samantha continued. "I deserve better than a man who calls me a fat pig behind my back while planning to divorce me once he gets access to my trust fund." More gasps, and now outright exclamations of support. Katie, her maid of honor, rushed forward to stand beside her. Then my sister. Then more friends. "For those who traveled to be here, I apologize for the inconvenience. The hotel has been paid for, and the reception hall has food and drink that shouldn't go to waste. Please enjoy it as my guests. Consider it a celebration of truth and self-respect instead of a wedding." As Samantha finished speaking, something unexpected happened. Margaret Blackwell stood up and walked toward her. Everyone tensed, expecting a confrontation. Instead, the older woman took Samantha's hands in hers. "I always knew there was something off about my son," she said loud enough for those nearby to hear. "I ignored it because it was easier. I'm sorry you had to go through this, but I'm glad you discovered the truth before it was too late." Samantha looked stunned, then grateful. She hugged her almost mother-in-law briefly. As we made our way back up the aisle, guests reached out to touch Samantha's arm, murmuring support and admiration. What could have been a day of humiliation had somehow transformed into a moment of triumph. Outside the ceremony room, Samantha turned to me, her eyes clear for the first time in months. "Thank you, Mom, for being brave enough to tell me the truth." I hugged her tightly. "Thank you for being brave enough to hear it." 1 year later, Samantha and I sat in my garden, enjoying the June sunshine and iced tea. So much had changed since that day at the Grand Plaza Hotel. The first few weeks had been the hardest. Samantha alternated between relief, devastating grief, and burning anger. She'd moved back into my house temporarily, unable to face her condo, where so many memories with Justin lingered. "I keep thinking about all the red flags I ignored," she told me one night, as we sat up late watching old movies. "How did I not see it?" "Because you wanted to believe in love," I said. "We all do, and manipulative people like Justin are experts at making you doubt yourself." Slowly, Samantha began to heal. She found a therapist who specialized in emotional abuse and body image issues. Dr. Palmer helped her understand the patterns she'd fallen into with Justin and how to recognize similar behaviors in the future. It wasn't just about my weight, Samantha explained to me after one particularly breakthrough session. It was about control. Every time he criticized my body, every time he monitored my food, he was asserting dominance over me. The physical healing came gradually too. Samantha stopped the extreme dieting and began eating intuitively again. The weight she'd lost came back settling naturally on her frame. She began to look like herself again, vibrant and healthy rather than hollowed out. In an unexpected twist, Samantha used her marketing expertise to start a support group for women who'd experienced similar relationship trauma. What began as informal meetings at a local community center grew into a nonprofit organization with chapters in 3 states. "I want women to know they're not alone," she told me, "and that there's life after toxic relationships." There had been financial fallout, of course. Justin attempted to sue for wedding expenses, claiming Samantha had breached an implied contract. His lawsuit was quickly dismissed when Samantha's lawyer presented the recording as evidence of his true intentions. Margaret Blackwell surprisingly became an ally. She reached out to Samantha a month after the non-wedding with information about previous women Justin had targeted. "You're not the first," she told Samantha, "but I hope you'll be the last." With Margaret's help, Justin's predatory pattern became known in their social circles, effectively ending his ability to target other wealthy women. As for me, I'd done my own soul searching over the past year. I'd spent hours wondering if I should have seen the signs earlier, spoken up sooner. "You did everything right," Samantha assured me. "You saw what I couldn't see. You got evidence when you knew I wouldn't believe just your word. You gave me the choice of what to do with that information." "I was so afraid of losing you," I admitted, "when you accused me of trying to ruin your happiness." "I was wrong," she said firmly. "You weren't trying to ruin my happiness. You were trying to save me from a lifetime of misery." Now, sitting in the garden on this perfect summer day, I could see how far we'd both come. Samantha was dating again cautiously. A kind, quiet man named David, who taught history at the local college, and looked at Samantha like she hung the moon, regardless of what she wore, or ate, or weighed. "Do you regret it?" I asked suddenly. "Finding out about Justin." "Sometimes I wonder if I should have kept quiet, let you have your wedding day." Samantha looked at me over her glass of tea. "Never, not for 1 second." She reached for my hand. "You taught me the most important lesson of my life that day." "What's that?" "That real love doesn't require you to be smaller. It helps you become your fullest self." She smiled. "Dad would have done the same thing you did." I squeezed her hand, thinking of Tom. "He would have punched Justin first, then shown you the recording." We both laughed, and in that moment, I knew we were going to be okay. My daughter had weathered a storm that might have broken her, and instead emerged stronger. She'd learned to trust herself again, to recognize her worth beyond her appearance or relationship status. As for me, I'd reaffirmed what it means to be a mother. Sometimes it means protecting your child from pain. But sometimes the braver thing is to let them face that pain when the alternative is a lifetime of quiet desperation. Sometimes the bravest thing isn't walking down the aisle. It's walking away with your dignity intact, ready to write a better love story for yourself. What would you have done in my situation? Would you have exposed Justin before the wedding or kept quiet? Have you ever had to make a difficult choice to protect someone you love? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear that they deserve genuine love. Remember, your worth is never determined by someone else's ability to see it. Thank you for listening to my story, and may you all find the love and respect you truly deserve.